say, don't touch that again or I'm going to shut this whole thing down. I was like, for who?
That's not wrong.
Cool. All right. We should jam sometime. I want to get a couple things out of the way before we get into the topic for today.
For sure. We'll shoot the
first
shit
and foremost, we have a release date for the Lost Arts music video.
Ooh.
That I didn't tell Craig about before our 20-minute conversation before this.
No.
Wednesday, May 20th, it will be premiering on v13.net, formerly known as Pure Grain Audio. It's going to be premiering, I think, 11 a.m.
Excellent.
So that's fucking exciting. So,
Excellent,
and then, we'll put it all over the rest of the internet. But yeah, I'm really excited for everybody to see that,
That's right. I'm excited to see it. I've only seen the before, like the first edit. So I'm excited to see
the
final.
it's pretty much the same, though. It's pretty much the same of what you saw. So, I mean, nothing that new. Big shout out again to our buddy Reed for fucking editing that. Also, I just want to throw something out here and you can chime in and we can even cut this out too if it's like too aggressive. I've been thinking about this all day. A lot of people have been reaching out to do this thing, which is awesome. It's really cool.
Yes.
I think the consistency has been working out. I've been noticing that the numbers are actually increasing and are consistent, so that's awesome. We've been telling everybody that we have an insane backlog of episodes, which is true. And also just this whole we should jam sometime thing started with just the fact that I wanted to do a podcast, and then it kind of turned into like an interview show, and now it's sort of like a hang. And I like the hang better. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a guy that I'm just a guy that likes music, and I like local artists. So we have another whole lineup of guys and people that we are planning on doing episodes with past the ones that are already recorded. So just definitely feel free to reach out, but I can't promise everybody that we're going to do an episode with you or that we can get you on, because there's a lot of people that we have already kind of set stuff up with, or we want the episodes to be good and we want them to be the best that they can be, and Craig and I aren't journalists,
No,
so
definitely not. We both work day jobs.
We both work day jobs. And I'm not trying to sound like a dickhead or anything, but it's just that we want these to be the best that they could be. And so sometimes, it's not that we don't necessarily, I've been telling people too, yes, if you have a single coming out, send it to me. And if I like it, I'll, at the top of the episode, I'll tell everybody to go listen to that.
Right.
But, we're still kind of figuring this out. It's sort of like a new era of the podcast that I've been really enjoying doing. But the whole point is to kind of I want to add value to anybody that listens to this. I was thinking about it today, and kind of even when I started, it was I want to add some kind of value. The more stuff that I do in music, and that you do in music, and that we have people on. I want somebody, that's in the States, that if there's somebody in fucking Indiana stumbles upon We Should Jam sometime and they're trying to start a band, I want there to be some kind of value
right
in these episodes, so I just wanted to make a little note at the front that we're trying, but we're doing what we can do, and ultimately we want this to be a hang and not just a weird awkward interview,
right. That's I mean when we had our first chat and we were let's try to do this remote podcast from home. That all just stemmed from us having a hilarious conversation on the phone, right?
Yes.
It wasn't exactly let's get John, or let's get Charlie, or let's get and let's talk about their band. It's let's get some homies on the phone and we'll have a laugh. We'll talk about some music stuff. But when we had Mark on the show. He had just announced that he was putting out his EP, and I figured, this is such an opportune time to have this friend of ours on. But when people are messaging us hey, we've got an EP coming out in 2 weeks, it's of course we want to get you on to help you out. And and they might be really close friends of ours, but now that we've got this huge backlog and we've got more people lined up to come on the show, it does kind of suck that we have to turn people down sometimes, but it's rad that people are asking. that people actually enjoy this.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, like I don't want to come across like a dick, and that's why I've been at least trying to offer like, send me the song, like let me know when it comes out. Because people have been like, yeah, it's like, oh, I have a song coming out in like a couple weeks, and I'm not. There's literally been like a few people that have said that to me, so I'm not talking about like anybody specifically and making this like general statement.
Yeah. I've had like 5 messages in the past like 2 weeks.
It's like literally like we literally have episodes recorded into June right now, and then now plus we're doing these like extra episodes. So it's not anything personal, and it is kind of like there is sort of like a priority of like we are gonna have people on that we know better, that we know we can have like a better conversation with.
Right.
Because
that's the big one.
Yeah, I want people to. It's got to be interesting, you know. And like I said, we're not journalists. We're not, you know, we don't know how to interview properly, you know.
Right.
And I want to like have some people on that like we genuinely like know and are fans of and stuff like that, or are just good friends with. You know what I mean? Like
someone that we can share.
So I just want to throw that out there.
Laughs.
It's been like 6 minutes of this rant, I did, but I just want to like throw that out there for people that are reaching out. I really appreciate everybody that is reaching out, but we're doing our best. Craig and I work long, tiring jobs.
Oh, dude, I'd like 12-hour shifts, buddy, in like the loudest like industrial factory you could possibly imagine. Well, probably not the loudest or the most industrial, but it's pretty hardcore, you know? I mean, the hours alone, you know, and you're doing the physical labor thing too.
Yeah, man, I'm tuckered out, dude.
But I mean, don't let it just be a disclaimer. I mean, it's almost a thank you too. Thanks to people that are reaching out. It's rad.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And anyway, let's fucking talk about something better. We were going to talk about inspiration for doing music, like how we started. Yeah, kind of thing. We I realized too, like my story is we talked about it, which it hasn't come out yet, but in the John episode, we kind of talked about your guitar inspiration. Right. And like my guitar inspiration is sort of just my whole, it's like the same story, but if you want to like get us rolling, you can go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's got that, like, how did you get your first guitar, or like, what was your first way to get into playing or getting into music at all. And, you know, I know a lot of people that they're like, oh yeah, like my parents made me do piano lessons, or like made me do guitar lessons or something like that. I had like, when I would see like a piano at someone's house when I was a kid, I would like lose my mind, because like it's like a piece of furniture in someone's house, right? It like looks cool. But I never really clued in that people would like play it. I literally never once saw someone like play a piano that was sitting in someone's house. I always thought it was more of a piece of furniture.
It's like a couch.
Yeah, for real. And like I would listen to when I would get grounded a lot as a little kid. My parents would ground the shit out of me, which sucks getting grounded as a little kid. But I would listen to the radio all the time when I would get locked away for a bit. And yeah, and it was great. Like, but I again still didn't really ever clue in like, oh yeah, this is something that I could write songs and like record them and stuff. I never clued into that. But then it was 2005. My dad was like, hey, come watch this movie with me, which would happen all the time. He'd be like, hey, I'm putting this movie on, come watch. He was like, come watch this movie. And it was Walk the Line, like the Johnny Cash movie. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. And I watched it. And I was fascinated. I don't know what it was that pulled me into it, but I was like, so down. I was like, dude, this guy is the coolest person on the face of the earth, and like I want to play guitar and shit. And like I don't think I said it while we were watching the movie, but I remember as soon as the credits started rolling, I turned to my dad, and he'd always be like in his armchair with his laptop out and shit, and I was like, Dad, can I get a guitar? And he was just like, I'm already on eBay. And I was like, oh, no way. And that's how I got my first, like I just like willingly was like, I want to. Like I watched a movie and I was like, I want to play guitar, and like I never put it down after that. Right. But yeah, like my dad is responsible for first getting me into tunes. How about you? Like just first getting your foot into the door.
Yeah, like I can't remember an exact moment, but what it was like, and I think that's because I was very, very young. Was my family overall is not very musical. Especially like my dad's side, but my mom's side, so my grandma and my uncle are both very musical. So like my grandma's this like fantastic country singer. I've said this like I think before
Yeah,
on the
Patsy
podcast or in
Cline.
that John episode. Yeah, she sounds exactly like Patsy Cline.
Yeah.
And it's unreal. And her name is also Patsy, so maybe it's in the name. I don't
Rad.
know.
So sick.
And then my uncle is like a fantastic guitar player and just is so he fucking had all this crazy gear. And I would go over there as a kid, and like I looked up to him already, and then you go into his house, and he had this whole room that and I talk about this in the John episode, but I called it the Kiss room because he had all this like Kiss merch and stuff.
Fuck yeah.
And which is 100% the only reason that I'm a huge Kiss fan now is because of that. And that's it. That's the origin.
That
of that
is why.
But he had 3 Les Pauls on the wall, and he had all these Marshall amps and like all this crazy shit. And I was just like, I want to play guitar. And my uncle Kev, got me my very first guitar, like a first act acoustic guitar.
Classic.
And my first electric guitar too, both for Christmases. So that was
also
fucking
first
cool.
act.
Yeah, no, but it was like I don't know what brand it is, but it was like it was just like a Strat like knockoff or whatever.
The classic. Also a classic.
It was super rad though. And yeah, man, that was the thing. So like my deal with like my parents or whatever, like the whole lead up of like, can I get a guitar? They're like, yeah, you got to take lessons though. And I got into lessons like right away. I think when I was like 7 or something.
Oh yeah.
Dude, and I went then it like that morphed into like classical guitar lessons. And this is like, I look back and I'm like, dude, I'm so dumb.
We're not paying attention.
I went pretty far with classical guitar. Like I won like awards and shit for playing guitar.
Shit.
Like I like Kiwanis and stuff.
Right.
And then I eventually got to a part where I was like, can I fucking learn some like Metallica or something?
Yeah,
like something
exactly.
cool.
When am I gonna get
And
some
then,
Green
like,
Day tabs?
All that fucking classical stuff went out the window.
Oh,
unfortunately, because I feel like Lost Stars could be so much cooler, man. If I had
for real. If you had
in there.
like 2 neo shredders in the band.
Yeah, dude, I always like, because I feel like I've let my guitar playing like atrophy so much, and then I'll go home and like flip through the scrapbooks or whatever, and I'll be like, dude, I used to rip.
Yeah,
I definitely don't rip anymore. But yeah, man, I also wish I like took piano lessons.
Oh, dude,
or something.
Like now that I'm trying
to
to learn how to play piano, it's like, Mom, Dad, what the fuck? Like, why didn't you get me in these lessons? Like when I was 7.
And I convinced my parents, in high school or whatever, to buy me a keyboard for Christmas. Mm-hmm. And I spent a little bit of time figuring it out. But like, I'm not very good at it. It was funny because I was talking to Steve from Ready the Prince a little bit, because he just did a live stream yesterday where he just played piano. And
that's dope.
But he learned 3 songs on piano and then did it, and he was like, dude, it was impossible.
It was so hard. Yeah.
It was so hard, yeah. And I was like, yeah, man, it's no joke. He's like, dude, it's fucked. But it's the same thing with like, it's just like one of those instruments that like, if you can just like have it in your back pocket just to rip it out.
But it's also one of those instruments that you can't really fake. You can't fake it.
No, you cannot fake. That's the thing. Like with guitar, I think like that's a big thing with guitar is like you can fake guitar all day long.
You can hide behind effects and fucking amps and shit. Like you see a guy with like a massive pedal board and like a fucking triple stack and like just gear. It's like, I don't care if you can even play it. That's sick.
Yeah.
Like, what year is that Les Paul? Like, I don't give a fuck what you're playing.
Well, man, we had a class in MIA where Dan would bring in it was like the engineering class or whatever. He would bring in sessions from stuff that he's worked on and just kind of go through it. And he brought in I think it was Flowers by Texas King. And he brought that in, and he was like, man, he's like fucking he would actually like, there would be a few times where we would be in like meetings when he was mixing the Lost Arts EP, and just like stories about Jordan or whatever. But in this class, he was like, yeah, Jordan, we were like, man, piano would be good on this song. And like, does anybody know how to play piano? And I guess Jordan was like, I like kind of know or whatever. And then I guess he just like sat down and fucking just totally ripped.
Oh, like, really?
Yeah. You kind of play.
Yeah. I play a little.
Yeah.
Those are even worse than the people that say they can and can't.
Yeah, totally, man. It's like, okay, cool. But I mean, like, and I could put in the time, but it's coordinating your hands, and it's a lot of it's a lot
man,
of work.
you're preaching to the choir right now. I've been trying to, like, I would like. I mean, it kind of goes back to what you were saying. I took maybe 2 public lessons for guitar, and then I went through classical guitar in high school, but that was already after like 7 years of playing or something. But now that I have a piano, and I mean, I can't even get lessons if I wanted, like with this whole quarantine. So now I'm just sitting down and like basically doing what I did when I first got my first guitar, is like I'm just trying to write shit without even actually knowing what I'm doing. And it's going okay, because I mean, like I have understanding of chords and structures and like all that shit with guitar. So now I'm trying to translate it to piano. But yeah, it's like both your hands have to be involved in the actual notation, and like trying to have it's like learning like the home keys on like a fucking computer's keyboard. Like you got to have your hands anchored in the right spot all the time. Yeah. And I'm just so bad at that. So it's
for sure.
It's taking some learning. The big one I'm like starting to realize is like on your left hand, like your bass hand, you got to do all your like your first notes are with your pinky and your ring finger, and then on your right hand it's like the thumb and the pointer, and that's really fucking with me. Like I feel like I want to do like the same shit with both hands, and I can't do that. But anyway, that got really music-y, but piano's been a huge bitch. But anyway, that's so first starting out. But who was like the first, like we'll leave like actual musicians and like bands we listen to out of it, but like who was the first person that like really inspired you to like pursue music as like a career thing? Or like to play more, or like play seriously?
I think maybe maybe like my music teacher in high school, fucking Pat Delaney.
Hell yeah.
We music was like a really big part of my high school, and there wasn't a lot of bands, you know, so when like a band comes in, and like that was the thing, I was like, I was always fucking like, I was the guy, you know, it was my thing.
Yeah, you were the band guy.
And so I remember in that Mark episode, I was saying how we my school would do like competitions every year. And so there was like an Idol year where it was just like American Idol, but it was GBSS Idol. And so we got knocked out in the second round, but it was like every band got knocked out in the second round. So like the first round was like anybody that probably shouldn't have really been in the competition. Right. And then the second round was like anybody that was like a rock band. It was like, fuck you. Because the problem too was like, it was voting. So like you'd play, and then like people would vote, and then like parents and stuff, right? So it's like you're playing to a demographic that's like doesn't want to hear the Foo Fighters, right?
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, so we got knocked out second round, and I think there was only like 3 rounds and then the finale. So we get knocked out, and there was this whole like controversy where this one band didn't. The singer was sick, so they couldn't play, but they were still able to be voted for. So they got like all these sympathy votes.
Oh my
and
God.
got through to the next round.
That's not fair.
So we get kicked out, and then this other band gets put through because the girl couldn't sing. And so then my like Delaney comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, like I wanted to talk to you like about Friday or whatever." He's like, you killed it, you know, I don't want you to feel discouraged or anything. Yeah. And I was like, "No, like it's fine, like I'm, you know, whatever." And but I was like, you know, like I am pretty pissed off that one band got to go through though. And I was like, I'm not saying that it's our spot, but I'm saying like, you know, the rest of us fucking played. Like
it's pretty bullshit.
Else, yeah. And he's like, I know. But he's like, you know, you got to think about it. Like, what do I do or whatever. But anyway, he was really great and supportive. Yeah. Of all that. He always gave us like the room after hours and stuff to practice.
Yeah. That's always cool.
Yeah. I always find it weird. Like, I wish like I grew up in like this, like in a city area where like there was sort of like a band demographic, because I had no idea what I was getting
there
into,
was
right?
one apparently like the whole time, but like because I went to Westmount Public School and Saunders Secondary, which are like right side by side, and like they're like the schools in Westmount, like in London, right? And then I guess there's oh my God, I forget what it's even called. Jean Vanier is like the Catholic school. So there's like those 3 schools all in the same block. but I was the same way. Like there was one band really when I was going to Saunders. There were no bands when I was in public school. But I was the music kid from like grade 5 on. But like public school was tough because I was like a Johnny Cash nerd. Like I literally just loved Johnny Cash, and that was it. And no one knew who the fuck Johnny Cash was. And I was the only kid that wanted to like play guitar and shit. So I was just so nerdy all through public school. But when I got into high school, and like I played cello in elementary school, and I got an award for that. That was pretty cool.
Dude, I wish I played cello, man.
I wish I played now because I'm gonna do a quick plug here. I'm doing a new song here at the Dome, and I need a cello part for it. I found a cellist, but I was like, fuck, I literally have awards for cello upstairs, and I don't remember. I don't have a cello. I don't really remember how to play cello, so I'm kind of fucked now. But
such a badass instrument, man.
Yeah. But yeah, when I went to Saunders, I was like, there were music kids, but no one was really in a band. There was no band that was like big at Saunders. There was a few from Beale, and like all the other bands. There was a ton of hardcore bands towards the end of high school, but none of them went to Saunders. But I had a music teacher named Julie Weeks. Huge shout out to her because she was the best. She was like, I used to call her my long lost Christian mother. Because she was just the guitar teacher, but she was so sweet, and like I think she retired the same year that I graduated, so no one else after our class had the privilege of getting taught by Julie. But I think she went to like Juilliard or something like that, and I never, like to this day I regret never asking her like, yo, can you just like shred as hard as you possibly can right now, and like can I see like, because she only ever did like she's like, here's prelude in C, or like here's Fur-Elise and shit. And she would shred that, and like I remember she would play piano for the choir, but I never saw her shred to her full capability, I don't think. But she used to be very encouraging as well, because I still can't really read music, but I was always trying to find musicians and bands and shit, and I would be like getting caught jamming during guitar class, but she'd just be cool about it. She'd just be like, hey, you stop that, like, and I'm like, yeah, fucking whatever, right?
Hey, do that.
Yeah, but Julie was a huge shout out. Huge shout out to Miss Weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta show like my guitar teacher too. I took lessons for like an ungodly amount of time, but a lot of that was because like we became like friends almost, and and then like I would go over there like after, because then like even I took him even into high school, but like I'd go to his house after high school, and like we would just like fucking, if I was going through like shit, I would just like, we would talk for like fucking, like I'd show up early because of like just what the lessons said,
right?
And like he would just be like watching Star Trek, and I'd come in, and then he'd be like, what's up? And I'd just like be like, dude, fucking this shit has been happening. And he would just like he'd be like my therapist too. Nice. And then we'd go in and like play guitar.
Cool. He was like an actual friend, like a confidant.
Yeah, he was a good guy. He's still kicking around or whatever. I'm sure he's still a good dude. It's been a long time since I've seen him. But still fucking alive, big shout out to fucking Edmund Baxter. He was fucking a big, cause I had a lot of stage fright as a kid too, man. And like I remember there was one time, I think it was weird too, cause like I had played in front of the school before, and I was in like grade 3.
Oh yeah.
And then like a couple years passed, I'm in like grade 5. And they're like, you should play, in front of the school again at the assembly. And I think I was like, okay. And then the day came, and I was just like stricken with just stage fright. And I was like, I can't do it. And he came and he was like, if you don't want to do it, like, you don't have to do it. And I didn't do it. But it was sort of like, I think that's the only other time it's funny, like thinking back to that, where I was like, I can't go on stage. To where now I'm like, fucking get me on a stage.
I just really want to go back. I want to do this so bad.
I just want to place on the stage all of the time. Like, what the fuck is stage fright? I couldn't tell you the last time I got stage fright, man.
Yeah, I there have been a couple shows where like you just get nervous for whatever reason. You just get that nervous feeling. But it's not like, like you still want to go on, and you're not like, I'm going to go out there and completely forget everything, or like,
Yeah.
You know? But I
I
remember
can't say I've
actually
had stage fright in a while. There's been like a few times where I just haven't felt like I'm doing a good job in the show, and then like
Right.
that's frustrating.
yeah,
where you're,
discouraged
like,
about your like worried about your performance, sure.
Yeah, that's
but-
frustrating.
But actual stage fright, and now that I think about it, because I was about to say I've never really had stage fright, but I think I had it like a few times because it was all through elementary school. I would get nervous about shit like that, but I never really had the like you could play at the assembly or like a talent show or kind of shit like that until like I think it was grade 6 or grade 7. It was like right after I got my first electric guitar because I'd been playing acoustic for like 4 years, and I never learned how to like shred or anything like that. And then as soon as I got my electric guitar, I was like, oh, I'm gonna learn how to play fucking guitar solos, and I'm gonna do a guitar solo for the class or whatever. And there were a couple times where it was like you get like an assignment, and I'm like, I have a cool idea. I could do like a song or something, and my teacher would be like, yeah, that'd be great. And then I'm like, well, or maybe I won't do that. You know, like you're like, oh, actually, maybe I'm scared now. But but I did like a talent show thing when I was in elementary school. I remember being really, really nervous for that. And then I went up there and I was killing it. And that's when I like, after that point, I didn't really get stage fright anymore. But I remember having a huge fuck up too, because I had like a 10-foot long patch cord. And I went to do a fucking like Chuck Berry duck walk. And the cord just flew out of my guitar. So it's just like, complete silence. You know, and like, and I was like, oh no, and like fucking plugged her back in, and like, I think people were like clapping too. I was like, come on, clap, and like, so then it just complete silence, and they're still like in the back, and I'm like, oh god. But after that, but like once you have, I attribute it to the fact that I got my huge fuck up out of the way really early. I think that's why I don't really get stage fright that much anymore. But
and like you just have to. I remember, dude, this is like one of the coolest compliments. We were playing, I don't remember, it was at Called the Office. I don't remember what the show was. But we were playing, and like I always hate, the one thing I don't like about Call the Office is because the stage is kind of small. I'm always terrified of stepping on a patch cord that's like stepping on the end of it that's in the pedal board, right? Always afraid of that.
Oh yeah.
And there was one we're like playing the show, and I like kind of kicked Nick's cord like out of the pedal, but it was like in like one foul swoop I like kicked it, knew I kicked it out, and then like bent down and plugged it back in like right away.
Nice.
And afterwards Riley White was like, dude, that was like the most pro shit I've ever seen.
Yeah,
like,
that's a Riley
man.
thing. He'll notice that shit for sure.
Yeah, I was like, oh, thanks, dude. And it's just like that's like
great.
We haven't had too many technical difficulties stuff, but that's the stuff where you're like, you got to be able to roll with it, and like shit happens.
Yeah, 100%.
But
yeah, playing shit off like that. It's like the fucking Stevie Ray Vaughan like busting a string and like not even skipping a beat. You know, like fucking having the guitar switch video. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but like
I have seen that.
Yeah,
it just
when you can play it off. That's the
There's this one time, I can't remember if it was Drew or Zane, but it was like years ago when we were living in Kitchener, and Eddie Vedder was on like like Letterman or something, and he was performing, and his string broke, and it was like this like viral video that was going around. It was like he was just fucking like jamming so hard, and it was like so cool that his string broke, and he just like kept going, and I was like, dude, did you guys see this fucking video? And I want to say it was Zane, but it's like such a Drew thing to say, where he was like, that's not fucking cool. And I was like, what do you mean? Fuck? That's so cool. And he was like, just be more professional. Like, don't break your string. And I was like, what? Dude. Oh man. I think it was, the more I think about it, I think it was Zane. And I think he was probably joking, but it was such a funny thing it was like, dude, he broke a string and didn't flinch at all and just like kept ripping. It was so awesome.
That's so funny.
And it was a great response. So funny.
Whatever. Okay, sure.
Like, okay, man, cool. I had a thought that like kind of ties into this.
Okay.
I know that there was a point for me, but was there ever a point for you where you like settled into like kind of your music interests a little bit? Like, like for example, like what I mean by that maybe I'll tell my part why I
Yeah.
came up with this question, and then
Yeah.
so I listened to like all this like shitty kind of like gross rock music as like a child.
Okay.
And then I kind of like where it first sort of like started to change was when I was like 12. I like really for the first time Our Lady Peace's Superman's Dead like sunk
Hell
into me, and I
yes.
was like, this is the greatest song of all time.
Yeah.
And
it
then
is.
Our Lady Peace became my favorite. Like all of my favorite bands before that were just like awful rock bands. But then like Our Lady
Seether.
Peace was my favorite band for a while, and I was obsessed. And then coming into high school, I found Nirvana, and I was like, I got obsessed with Nirvana as you do.
Of course.
And then that morphed in to a Dave Grohl obsession for like most of
See,
grade
I never
10.
really had the
And-
huge Dave Grohl one.
Yeah, I
Not-
did.
not
I was like
obsessive.
heavy. My I think it was like a summer that I was like really into the Foo Fighters, but like it was the sort of the same time as like Nirvana. So I was like, the Foo Fighters are still fucking sick.
Right.
And then with like Dave, I was like, well, what else has Dave done? And then that's where like you find Queens of the Stone Age. But the funny thing is the first couple times I tried to listen to Queens of the Stone Age, I was like, I don't get it. And 'cause
Really?
I listened to Era Vulgaris the first time, and I was like, yeah, this is fucking too weird. And anytime anybody asks me like, hey, I haven't really got into Queens, what should I listen to?
You
I'm like,
suggest
I always
Era
am like,
Vulgaris.
don't listen to Era Vulgaris like until you fucking until you like this band. No, I would say don't listen. I will say listen to. I mean, it depends on the person, but like listen to like Light Clockwork, or like the first three you should probably listen to is in whatever order you want is Light Clockwork, Rated R, and Songs for the Deaf.
Right.
And then because like Era Vulgaris has some like weird shit on it that I now think is amazing. Like I think I'm Designer is a fantastic song that gets like no love.
Yeah.
But when I first listened to it, I was like, this is fucking trash.
Wow.
And then some time went by, and I was like, I'm going to try again. And I listened to Lost Art of Keeping a Secret, and I was like, yeah, this is fucking fantastic.
My going in
and
cold suggestion would be Lullabies to Paralyze. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, because like
Maybe.
when I first like my introduction is like really stupid. I was like a kid. I don't know how old I would have been, but MOD was on. If anyone remembers Much on Demand.
Okay, yeah.
But MOD was on, and Josh Homme was being interviewed. Never seen this man before in my life. Had no idea who the fuck Queens were. And I just caught this like one quick second of his interview, and it was just like, yeah, so what was like the inspiration behind Make It With You? And he was like, oh, I don't know, I was just listening to a lot of Johnny Cash or whatever. And I was like, Johnny Cash? I like this guy.
Yeah.
And then I looked up Queens of the Stone Age, and I was like, oh, fuck, these guys are like a sick rock band. And like the first song that I heard of theirs was Sick, 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 which I love that song. So I actually stole that lyric for fucking a Radio Caroline song.
Yes.
So, I love that fucking song.
Well, here's the thing. That album is fucking fantastic. Like, Era Vulgaris is a great album. I just don't think it's a good jumping off point.
No, for sure.
I would.
My recommendation would be Lullabies to Paralyze. I think it has something to offer for everybody. If you're going in completely cold.
My thing too is I got into Queens and I got obsessed with them, and then as that like obsession was just dying off, because I'd listened to them nonstop for like 4 months. This announcement came across. And it was Queens of Stone Age announced its first album in 6 years. And so like I had got into them literally like a month before it would have been a bandwagon thing. Like I got into them and it was still cool. And then they announced like Clockwork, and it was just like it was the greatest thing of my whole life. I've never been so glued, cuz like also the campaign for promoting that album was amazing. And I was like, I remember last episode I was telling you about my friend Bailey. So like we used to work together, right? So I don't know if you remember this or if you're following it at all the time, but Queens were every couple like months they would put out a new animated video of like, and some of them were just clips of a song, some of them were the full song,
right?
And the whole video was, you can actually go online, and I think if you look up like Queens of Stone Age Like Clockwork, there's a 15-minute video, and it's everything like put together, but they're releasing that like one at a time.
Okay.
So I remember we worked together at the military base, which my place is by. So Bailey would come home on my bus, and we'd like hang out for a little bit, and we'd go to work. So I remember we came home from school one day, and I was like, oh man, they put out a new video, and it was the Keep Your Eyes Peeled video. And And I was like, you gotta watch, and I like made her watch it, and she was like, didn't give a fuck at all. But I was like, this is fucking so cool, isn't it? This is amazing. And,
that's like me bringing
man,
people over and like playing them Johnny Cash songs in like grade 6.
Oh yeah,
dude, that happened so hard.
yeah.
Like all through, like it's not an understatement. I think I discovered AC/DC in like grade 8, and Michael J. It was AC/DC and Michael J. I was a weird kid, by the way, if you didn't know that. But it was like only Johnny Cash for like 3 years, and then all of a sudden I discovered AC/DC and Michael Jackson at the exact same time, and Nirvana, I think, which Nirvana took a little while to sink in, and then I became completely obsessed. But yeah, I'd be like, they'd be like, yo, here's the new Billy Talent song, and like for some reason I just like would like, because that band existed like at that point, but I didn't get into them until like a couple years later. And I was like, yo, but what about like Folsom Prison Blues though? And they're just like, what the fuck is this? Like, like there weren't even drums on like a lot of Johnny Cash songs, and they're like, what the fuck are you listening to this like 50 shit for? And like, I don't know, I was so musically sheltered, but yeah, I definitely had the Nirvana obsession too, to throw back to that.
I feel like everybody goes through it.
You kind of have it, yeah.
Yeah. I keep hearing. I've actually been meaning to listen to In Utero again for a while. I kept hearing stuff from it. I was like, I have not listened to that album in so long. And
I'll listen to
so
select
good.
songs from that album more often than any other album, for sure.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, like I mean, I also abused Nevermind like really, really hard when I first bought. And actually, when I first bought, I was always that kid. Like I would buy CDs and I would immediately open it and start flipping through the fucking liner notes because I thought it was just the coolest shit ever. I was like, I mean, I got into music through a music bio, so I love like knowing everything about artists and shit.
Yeah.
And so I'd flip through the book, and like I knew of Foo Fighters and who Dave Grohl was, but I wasn't like, I didn't really give a fuck. And I was like, I knew all about Nirvana already, and I was like, I'm gonna buy Nevermind, and I bought it, opened it up, flipped through the notes. And it's like Dave Grohl, and I'm like, Dave Grohl was in Nirvana? What the fuck? And like I had no idea. It just blew my mind, and I was like, he played drums though, but he doesn't play fucking drums in the Foo Fighters. Like I couldn't even fathom. So like that was my first introduction to the fact that like, oh, if you play guitar, you don't have to just play guitar. You can also play bass, and you can play drums.
For sure.
But
dude, that was earlier. I was gonna say I listened to this podcast last week that Josh was on, and I guess it was like the doctor that like did his surgery in like 2010 or whatever that like has a podcast, and it was so infuriating because I love me a Josh Homme interview.
Yes,
I think that like just the way that he talks and like
he's the coolest.
The kind of insight
he's the desert Elvis.
The way that he says stuff. I'm like, oh, dude, like, fuck me. Like, there's so many things that he says. I'm like, that's for sure a tattoo. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And this doctor in the fucking, like, podcast was like, yeah, man, like, I'm going to be honest, like, I don't even, like, really know your music that much or whatever. And it was driving me fucking insane.
That's insane.
He would say something amazing. And the doctor just, like, wouldn't. It was the same thing, like, watching the Rogan interview that he did because... Oh man, I'm like, dude, I could do an interview with Josh Homme so good.
Yeah, you
like,
could get the deep dive.
Because like he says stuff that like you could kind of do bits with him, and then I hate when there's a bit on a podcast or whatever, and the other person doesn't
pick up on it
with the bit.
Yeah,
and you're like, come on, especially on the Rogan one where like Josh was clearly doing these bits and Rogan wasn't getting it, and it's like, hey man, aren't you a fucking comedian? Where's the
what the hell? Where's the comedic instinct here?
Yeah, it drove me crazy. The whole interview was driving me crazy.
Well, and
Josh is one part too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say it was funny because they were doing it on Zoom, right? And there's this one part where the doctor's trying to get Josh to like play a song, right? He like is like, yeah, like, you know, did you get your guitar or whatever? Maybe you could play something. And then it's like kind of awkward, and then Josh goes, well, you know, is the reception really worth it? And then there's like this weird pause, and then the doctor has like a girl like sidekick, and then the girl's like, yeah, well, like, Josh, anyway, I wanted to ask you, and she like goes to ask this really thoughtful question, and then the doctor goes, oh, so is that like a no?
Oh my god.
And then Josh just goes like, yeah, Carol, like, go ahead.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I don't want to pressure him. And he's like, yeah, he was just like, it's not we're talking like over the internet. Like it's not gonna be worth me fucking playing the song. Like,
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
It was just such a classic. Like, if you're not into music and it's like not like your thing, don't interview a musician.
No,
it's so
for
weird.
real. At
It's
least
so
do like
weird.
a little bit of research beforehand. You know.
Oh yeah, especially
Come
because the
on.
whole thing was like, I guess they're like kind of friends or whatever, because he did this major surgery on him, which is fine. But it's like it's so frustrating to me when like, you know, Josh will be telling these stories and then the guy would be like, sorry, what band was that? And it's like, know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because it would be stuff where it's like the most like you know, rudimentary shit, you know, where you're like, don't have a guy on and where you don't know anything about him. You know.
Well,
But
and like, you
anyway,
know, Josh is
that's my rant.
hilarious too, right? Like
Yeah,
from
he's so funny.
that Eagles of Death Metal documentary thing that you sent me forever ago. Like I still reference that to this day, and it's like comedic
great.
genius. And so
It's
like
great.
when the guy's saying like funny shit, or like, I mean, yeah, like you were saying, the music stuff, it's like, come on, like at least be able to fucking bite when I present you a fucking
Don't have a
elite-
guy on and then be like, I don't really know your music. Like,
Yeah, what the fuck?
What are we doing? What are we doing then?
Yeah, what are we doing here? Yeah, do you want me to come back like in like 2 weeks or?
Yeah, I
What
have
the
like
fuck?
I have 7 out, and then dude, there was a question of like, what genre are you guys? You know, and then Josh
Oh
gives like a
my God.
very good like, well, you know, I don't think it really matters, and like I don't think that we really fit into something. And then he's like, oh, so you yeah, but like, you know, but like, what's your genre?
Why don't you
And
just
Josh was-
Google it, bro? Like
Josh was like, well, I guess we're like a rock band. But like,
Yeah.
you know, I think it goes deeper than that.
What, like, I mean, that's like rudimentary. It, like, you don't want to ask shit that you could just look up. Like, why aren't you
Such a
asking
dumb
questions?
question.
Yeah,
The
it's just
genre
a
question's
stupid
stupid.
question.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
But that's
anyway.
that's my rant to end this.
Yeah.
I gotta go do another thing. So
Okay.
I was thinking I was like, we could have just did this tomorrow. But
Yeah, but whatever. That's fine.
whatever.
That's fine. We can make
did
this a
it now.
two-parter actually, because I have more to say about this whole origins and
Okay.
inspirations and all that. So, I'm
Well,
sure we can-
okay. Well, how about this? Let's close her off right now, and then I'm gonna go do this other interview that I committed to, and then
Right.
we can talk later or tomorrow or whatever.
right? Yeah, I'm down for that.
All right. Okay. Cool, man.
Cool.
Well, fucking thanks so much for listening, everybody.
Oh, real quick,
fucking-
I want to
yep.
just, because I mean, we can ask the people a question real quick. So this
Yes.
will be a two-parter. But who was? Did you guys have a music teacher that inspired you? Who
Yeah.
you know, who got you
inspired
first into your thing? I don't know what the specific question should be. What else did we say here?
I mean, like, I think you nailed it. Like, is there who is like your main inspiration for?
Yeah, who was your first
for
mentor?
Who you are today musically?
Yeah, that'll be the part one question, I suppose.
Fuck yeah.
Anyway, thank you for listening, everybody.
Okay, man. Hell yeah, we should jam sometime. Thank you so much. Please subscribe on whatever medium that you're listening to. I really appreciate everybody checking these out, and we'll fucking talk to you next time.
Later.
Cool. Bye.